Hello and welcome to another Big Finish review. Today we're going to be taking a break from Doctor Who and instead focus on Big Finish's output of Torchwood content, where I look at an entry from their monthly range series. The Torchwood monthly range allows them the opportunity to have small-scale, hour-long stories with minimal cast and usually only focusing on a handful of the main Torchwood team or even brand new characters related to Torchwood. And in this case we're going to be looking at the Owen Harper and Andy Davison story Corpse Day by James Goss. But before we get into the review, I'd just like to say, if you haven't already, please support the channel by hitting subscribe, turning on notifications, liking and comment your thoughts below. You can find and follow me on Twitter at the link here. Out of all of the original Torchwood members, sadly Owen is the one with the least amount of content from Big Finish, but that's mainly just because of how busy Bernd Gornham's schedule is, so we're just going to have to make do with what little we have from him, and they do make the most of it. This story starts off an interesting trend in the Owen monthly range stories, having him team up with PC Andy, and the two form a sort of buddy cop type relationship, which is quite interesting to see, as they aren't really the sort of characters you'd see interacting all that much in the show, so it was nice to shake things up. Corpse Day sees Owen reluctantly teaming up with Andy as part of an agreement between Torchwood and the police, where they take advantage of Torchwood's much greater resources for investigation to look up cold cases to see if there's more of a supernatural explanation for why they weren't so easily able to solve them. And initially Owen is just completely uninvested in this situation, as Andy brings him a series of disappearances of girls in nightclubs, which Owen immediately dismisses, but as soon as the investigation begins, things become a bit more interesting and disturbing, as they find out that while the truth of what happened to these girls isn't supernatural or alien in origin, in fact, it's quite down to earth what happened to them, it doesn't stop it from being incredibly traumatic for them.
Hey, Owen.
Oh, it's, PC, not Gwen.
Davidson, Andy.
Andy, yeah.
Yep, that's me.
You're my partner.
You bet, and I cannot wait.
I'm not going to spoil the main details of the plot, as I really recommend you listen to this without context, but I should warn you, this is a pretty disturbing listen. Torchwood has a lot more freedom compared to the Doctor Who range to be much darker and disturbing, and this takes full advantage of this, and the fact that we're focused on a very real subject matter, it can hit close to home for some people. The villain in this story, sadly, is a very interesting villain and very compelling, and also just really, really hard to listen to in a good way. Is such an unlikable antagonist that, unironically, he literally makes one of the Weevils seem like a sympathetic character. That's how bad Owen and Andy have it. The story does a good job also selling the stakes for Owen as a character. Even though he technically can't die, he can still very much face physical injury, and unlike the rest of everyone involved in this situation, those wounds won't heal, so he has to be extra careful in this very violent setting. Something that I really like when it comes to this story is how it lulls you into a false sense of security initially, as with good disturbing content, it's always good to mess with people's emotions as to have it be constantly disturbing, it kind of desensitizes the audience to it by starting off with quite a comedic introduction where Owen sort of makes light of his predicament of being undead and therefore unable to experience simple pleasures. He forces Andy to eat a ridiculously high meal in order to sort of vicariously live through him and get that experience. It is a fun moment to sort of ease people in before we get to the more disturbing stuff in the second and third act. Andy is also a nice little fun comic relief initially compared to the more sly and sarcastic Owen. It's clear that Andy wants to be a member of Torchwood, and Owen makes fun of him throughout, thinking that he's treating this like his introduction, his test to get a place in the Torchwood team. And across the episode he slowly comes to realise just how messed up working with Torchwood can be, and it is interesting to see this otherwise lovable character be emotionally broken by this situation, as even though they're able to technically save the day, in a case of this story, there can't really be any sort of happy ending.
Torchwood Cardiff keeps up Corpse Day, on and off. You give me the details of an unsolved case, I tell you it's the Rift, we both go home happy. Why did you volunteer for this?
Well,
Don't say, because you thought Torchwood is dead exciting and hanging around with us for a day might be a laugh and maybe we'll notice you and offer you a job alongside Gwen.
Oh.
To conclude, Corpse Day is a tough listen, but a really strong entry from this series, and if you're interested in checking any of the monthly range out, this is a good one to go for, but be warned that it is not going to be a fun listen for much of the story, so make the most of those few comedic scenes while you can. Thank you for watching. If you'd like me to talk about more of the Torchwood monthly range, let me know in the comments and I'll try and add that to the roster. And I'll see you next time.
Can't you, woo woo woo, dee-nor, nee-nor, come on! Pedal to the metal!
Nope. No sirens.
Andy, you're as much fun as a carrier bag in the rain.